Hi, it's Nick from the Run Testers, and in this video I'm going to be comparing probably the three best racing shoes on the market right now: the Nike Vaporfly, the Nike Alphafly, and the Saucony Endorphin Pro. In terms of the key stats of the shoe, the drop is 8mm on the Vaporfly, and it's the same on the Endorphin Pro, 8mm, whereas the Alphafly has a lower drop, it's 4mm from heel to toe. When it comes to the weight of the shoes, the Vaporfly is 198 grams, which is about 7 ounces. That's for this shoe, a UK size 9, weighed in my kitchen. The same is true of the other shoes, they're all UK size 9, and the Alphafly weighs in at 232 grams, which is 8.2 ounces. And the Endorphin Pro is just a little bit lighter. It's 229 grams, which is 8.1 ounces. Comes to the price, the Endorphin Pro is the cheapest shoe by quite a long way. It's £190 or $200 in the US. The Vaporfly NEXT is £240 or $250, whereas the Alphafly is £260 or $275. Let's look at the design of the shoes, starting with the uppers. The Vaporfly has Nike's Vapor Weave material, which is slightly water resistant to kind of let water roll off it, but still very breathable and lightweight. This is probably the easiest shoe of the three to get that kind of tight lockdown racing fit by cranking these kind of offset laces good and tight. The Alphafly has an atom knit upper, which is a kind of really open knit, so it kind of, the idea is that water will drain away. It's a fairly tight feel. I don't think it's got much give in it like a fly knit upper would, so it's, you still get a good tight lockdown fit. And it's it's really comfortable. There's a decent amount of room in the toe box, and you get a nice comfortable fit for what is a racing shoe. Saucony's Endorphin Pro has a form fit upper, which is kind of really soft, molds to the foot nicely. It's reasonably soft in the heel. And again, yeah, it's really comfortable to wear for long periods. Decent amount of room in the toe box. No complaints about any of these uppers for me. In the midsole, the Nike shoes both have Nike Zoom X foam, which is a PEBA-based foam. It's very light, very soft. It's very springy. It's been the kind of standout on the market for a couple of years. That's obviously paired with a carbon plate. In the Alphafly, you also have these Air Zoom pods under the forefoot, which are a bit firmer, a bit more kind of responsive than the Zoom X foam alone, and that kind of gives you a bit more punch to your toe off. Saucony's Endorphin Pro also uses a PEBA-based foam. It's the first time the company has used one. It's called Power Run PB, and they pair that with an S-curve carbon plate, which is kind of key to the standout feature of this shoe, which is the speed roll technology. It's not really designed to be the same kind of soft bouncy feel as these shoes. It's more about moving you from heel to toe very smoothly and efficiently, and key to that is the kind of speed roll technology and that S-curve carbon plate. On the outsole of the shoe, you're not getting a huge amount of rubber in any of these. These are all racing shoes, so they're trying to keep the weight down. But of the three, the Alphafly is a fair amount under the forefoot actually. I think it'll be reasonably durable in that area. There's exposed foam on all of them, so you're best off not sticking to kind of good roads if you don't want to kind of rip up bits of that foam, as I have done in the kind of short amount of time I've been using them. But generally, yeah, the outsoles are fine, you get enough grip, and I don't think these shoes are going to fall apart really quickly as long as you stick to good flat roads. Durability in general is always a question with PEBA foam, I think. It might just lose its bounce a little bit more quickly than more traditional stuff. But at the same time, I've used an old pair of Vaporfly for a few hundred miles and I still use them as training shoes. I've not noticed any loss of bounce in any of these shoes, including the Vaporfly, which I've used for kind of a year and a half now. So yeah, keep these for your key training sessions and races, and you're going to get a couple of years of use out of them, assuming you're not racing a marathon every week. So the fit of the shoes, they have all come up true to size for me. The Nike shoes I've used the same size across the generations of Vaporfly, and now on the Alphafly, I find they're all comfortable for me in my normal size. Like I say, the Vaporfly, it's easier to get that kind of lockdown fit around the midfoot for me, but I haven't had any slippage in any of these two shoes, or indeed the Saucony, and I've had kind of no real problems with rubbing or anything like that in the forefoot. Like I say, the Saucony is also true to size. It's the same size I've used for all Saucony shoes, and it's very comfortable. Like I say, I've used this for fairly long runs now, and I've not noticed anything that would make me worry about it being comfortable enough to use for a marathon in my normal size. So the first thing to say is all of these shoes are very, very good to run in. If you have any of them on order, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. The Vaporfly is obviously the shoe I've done the most running in, as I've had it for a year and a half. Last year I used it for all of my key races, and I ran my kind of best half marathon in it, and my best marathon as well, I'd say. Like that wasn't a PB, the marathon, but I was second at the Loch Ness Marathon on an undulating course. And yeah, I really love this shoe. For me, it was pretty much the perfect shoe. It had everything I could want. It was fast, really lightweight, really springy with that carbon plate. But this year, I do think that people have upped their game. I would probably rate both of these shoes slightly more highly than the Vaporfly. So the Alphafly, didn't really like it for easy runs, but as soon as I got it up to pace, it felt fantastic. That big wedge of cushioning, it does look like it's going to be in the way, and there are times when it is. Like when you're easy running, I think you do feel it a bit more. And at the end of kind of hard reps, I would kind of start to feel a little bit more cumbersome in it just because of that size. But to be honest, once you're up and rolling at your race pace, I don't notice this heft anymore. It really feels like a very fast, smooth shoe. I've done kind of a progression 10K in this, an all-out 5K. I've done a track style session on the road and a kind of long kind of steady run, a half marathon. And every time I'm running at a decent lick, it feels brilliant, this shoe, and I do think you're getting a bit more punch to your toe off from those Air Zoom pods compared to the Vaporfly. When it comes to the Saucony, it's a different feel. You don't have that soft bounce from the Zoom X, which obviously is then added to by the kind of slightly firmer forefoot on this shoe. It's a firmer feeling shoe, but not in any way like an old racing flat firm. This is still a really comfortable shoe that I think anyone could run a marathon in pretty comfortably, and it's also a more versatile shoe. I've enjoyed running even easy in this shoe, whereas the kind of Nikes really are for your fast runs. They don't really feel right at easy paces to me, whereas this feels quite similar at every pace, which is amazing. It's so smooth from heel to toe, it's almost ridiculous. You just feel so kind of light on your feet and efficient, like almost like you're on wheels. When I put up the early review of the shoe, someone described it as deceptively quick, and that's exactly what it is. Like within minutes of getting it, I took it straight out the door for a progression 10K, going from 350 per kilometre down to 320 per kilometre, which is my actual 10K pace, although that feels like a long way off right now for 10K. And it's not like it got better and better as the pace went up, but I felt great at every pace in this shoe, and it's certainly got that kind of magic trick that the Vaporfly has always done and now the Alphafly does, which is of making hard running feel that little bit easier, and in a more tangible way than just feel a bit easier. Like you can see, well I can see anyway, that my heart rate's lower than I think it probably would normally be in another shoe and stuff like that. I also recently did a 90-minute run where I used all three of these shoes, carrying them around in a backpack like a bit of a lunatic, and rotating between them, there were a few things that kind of really stood out in terms of differences. So the Alphafly does feel heftier, especially than the Vaporfly when you first put it on. So I went from the Endorphin to the Alphafly, and it took about a few minutes for me to kind of adjust to the lower drop, the kind of big wedge of cushioning. But once I was rolling again, and I was trying to hold a similar pace in all the shoes and just see how good it felt, this felt just as good. These two shoes are both supremely efficient in my opinion, and they're going to be really fantastic for longer races as a result. Then when I went from the Alphafly to the Vaporfly, it is noticeable that this is a lot lighter on the foot, and you just feel a bit more nimble, and you get that kind of cranked, locked out fit, and it feels kind of more racy in a way. But as I was running at that speed, it did feel like, this doesn't feel as easy, as efficient as it does in these other two shoes. So fair enough, I kind of assumed, well, I'm further into the run, I'm a bit more fatigued, so I switched back to the Endorphin Pro and immediately got a boost, and it did feel like light and fantastic and efficient on the foot again, and that's kind of really what's confirmed my feelings, which are, I do think these are better shoes for me. I would also say that I kind of looked at a few stats from my stride pod afterwards, and interestingly my leg spring stiffness was kind of better in these two shoes than the Vaporfly. Kind of could see a noticeable dip and then come back up again when I swapped back to the Endorphin, which is just kind of one stat from one runner on one run, but it was just interesting to me and kind of fitted with my impression of the shoes, which is running economically and efficiently was easier for me in these shoes than it was in the Vaporfly. The other kind of difference between them, I noticed on that run and in running in general, is this is a more stable shoe, the Endorphin Pro. It's a kind of more traditional feel to it, especially compared to the Alphafly, where with a wedge of cushioning like that, you do have some instability issues. I've actually noticed that I roll inwards on this shoe, which is, I've been a neutral runner the whole time I've been a runner. But I kind of noticed it making videos of this shoe, and then when I looked at the wear pattern underneath, I could see it was more kind of discoloured on the inside of the foot. So I am rolling a bit in this shoe just because of that high stack. Like, I'm not hugely worried about this because, like I say, it's only using it for key sessions and races. Not going to be running in it every single day, but I do think it might be a concern with someone who is maybe a stability runner or worried about that kind of thing in general. And obviously it does matter if you're running on like cambered roads or particularly, not great flat asphalt on your races. So yeah, there is the stability issue to consider as well. So yeah, the impressions are there. Like I said, they're all fantastic shoes. I've done every kind of running in all of them except, obviously proper all-out races and these two because there haven't been any races. I've done some virtual races, but we all know that's not quite the same thing. However, I cannot wait to race in these shoes, and they would be my go-to options compared to the Vaporfly. When it comes to the verdict, I do think that the Endorphin and the Alphafly are a little bit of a step up compared to the Vaporfly for me. I feel like I run kind of more economically, more efficiently in these shoes than I do the Vaporfly. And that might partly be down to the style of runner I am. I particularly think that could be the case for the Alphafly, which I'm not sure will work for every runner. I'm about 70 kilos, 6 foot, and I generally strike kind of heel to midfoot. If you're a very, very nimble runner with a very elegant forefoot style, you're very lightweight, I'm not sure this is going to do a lot for you, and you might not appreciate having it on your shoe, in which case you might look towards this lighter shoe and this slightly lighter shoe as a better option. This does feel, maybe might look and feels quite cumbersome to you on the run as a result. For me, that isn't the case. Once I'm up to speed, this feels brilliant, and I really feel like I'm getting the most out of that soft wedge of cushioning and the kind of roll through to that explosive forefoot. So for a marathon, I'm probably still leaning just towards the Alphafly myself, and probably half marathon too, assuming these are kind of road races where I'm not gonna have to worry about hundreds and hundreds of sharp turns. That said, if I had to line up in the Endorphin Pro tomorrow in a marathon, I really wouldn't feel bad about it. I do think it's an exceptional long distance racing shoe. And over 5 or 10K, it's more of a toss up. It really, would depend. Sometimes even on the course you're running on that day, again, like doing a lot of sharp turns at 5K pace isn't going to be the Alphafly's strong point, but again, it's not really going to wreck your race. So I think you could easily go with any of these shoes. If you just want the lightest shoe possible, then the Vaporfly is still it. Like, running economy isn't going to make such a big difference over the course of 5K as it does over a marathon. But yeah, and if it's really sharp turns, then the Endorphin Pro is the most stable shoe of the three. So yeah, I might go Alphafly for all my races. I think it really works for me, that kind of soft ZoomX foam and that kind of big wedge of cushioning. As a runner, I really appreciate it, whereas I do think some runners won't, especially in the Alphafly. There's also the matter of the price to consider. The Endorphin Pro is significantly cheaper at £190. This is 260, 240. That's a big step up in price for what is not necessarily a correspondingly big step up in shoe. As a result, I do think the Endorphin Pro has a big edge on that front, as well as the fact it's more stable, it's more versatile, and I think it will work for every runner. I really can't think of a runner who wouldn't really enjoy being in this shoe, whereas I know for a fact some have not really taken to the Alphafly just because of its slightly more outlandish design. For me, the two top guns right now in running shoes are the Endorphin Pro and the Alphafly. I'd probably lean Alphafly slightly myself, but the fact that there is this kind of decision to be made for the first time in a few years is fantastic. Up until now, for the last couple of years, it's been a case of just wear Nike's best shoe and you've got the best shoe out there. I think when racing finally does come back, we're not going to have a sea of Nike in those kind of front pens like we have for a couple of years. So that's it for now. Thanks very much. If you want more detail on either the Endorphin Pro or the Alphafly, do head to our full reviews of those shoes. We also have a video up comparing the Alphafly just to the Vaporfly if you want just to really dive into some Nike on Nike action. But that's it for now. Thank you very much. Please do like and subscribe, ring the little bell so you get notified about our next video. There are some more carbon shoes coming and we're going to have reviews of all of them on the channel. Thanks very much and see you next time.